The neon glow of the Las Vegas Strip usually promises a dream, a shimmering mirage of glass, steel, and luxury designed to make you forget reality. But standing in front of the faded pink tent of Circus Circus, you don't feel luxury. You feel something older. Something that the polished executives at the Wynn and the Cosmopolitan desperately want you to ignore. While the mega resorts are quietly drowning in billions of dollars of debt, struggling to squeeze every last cent out of a shrinking middle class, this relic from the 1960s is doing something impossible. It is quietly, efficiently, printing money. Today we aren't just looking at a clown show. We are peeling back the curtain on a financial fortress that understands the one thing modern Vegas has forgotten: the value of a dollar. Walking through those revolving doors, the smell hits you first. It's a specific mix of old popcorn, carpet cleaner, and decades of cigarette smoke that clings to the fabric. To the modern eye, it looks tired. But if you look closer, past the chipped paint and the chaotic noise of the midway, you feel something else. Honesty. It doesn't feel like the sterilized, algorithmic extraction machines that the rest of the Strip has become. For the family unloading a minivan in the heat, or the retiree counting their fixed income, walking in here feels less like a vacation and more like a safe harbor. It's a transaction you can actually understand in a city built on confusing illusions. The collective feeling here isn't glamour. It's the relief of not being priced out of existence. So, how does a property that looks like a time capsule from 1993 outperform the architectural marvels of 2025? It's not magic. It's math. Ruthless, brilliant, simple math. Stick with me, because we are going to dissect 7 specific financial levers that owner Phil Ruffin is pulling right under our noses. We will look at the land bank theory that values dirt over diamonds, the surprising economics behind a simple asphalt RV park that earns more than some luxury restaurants, and the pain-free psychological trap that makes you open your wallet without feeling the sting. By the end of this deep dive, you might not want to sleep here, but I guarantee you will respect the hustle. Part 1. The Land Bank Trojan Horse. When billionaire Phil Ruffin purchased Circus Circus from MGM Resorts for $825 million, the reaction from Wall Street analysts and YouTube critics alike was almost unanimous derision. They saw a decaying asset, a relic that had outlived its usefulness in a city obsessed with the new. They looked at the faded paint, the dated animatronics, and the budget clientele and asked, why buy the ugliest girl at the dance? But Ruffin wasn't looking at the paint. He was looking at the dirt. Let's look at the hard numbers that the casual observer misses. The deal included 102 acres of prime Las Vegas Strip real estate. To put that in perspective, in a city where land is the ultimate finite resource, this is a kingdom. If you break that down based on recent comparable land sales, which have hit dizzying heights of nearly $50 million per acre for prime frontage, the math becomes staggering. That land alone holds an estimated potential value of nearly $5 billion. Ruffin paid $825 million for an asset sitting on dirt worth nearly 6 times that amount. This wasn't a hotel purchase. It was a land heist. Critics and corporate developers will argue that the building is an eyesore that depresses property values, that it needs to be imploded to make way for the next big thing, like the Fontainebleau or Resorts World. They talk about modernization and the need for luxury density. But here is the ugly truth they don't want to admit. The casino is just a placeholder. It is a cash-flowing mechanism designed to pay the property taxes while the land appreciates at a historical rate of 15 to 20%. Ruffin isn't in the hospitality business here. He is in the land banking business. he is holding a Trojan horse.
While competitors spend billions building glass towers that depreciate the moment they open, requiring constant upkeep and renovation, Ruffin is sitting on a finite resource, land on the Strip, that is only becoming scarcer. He effectively bought a gold mine for the price of a shovel, and he is content to let the world laugh at him all the way to the bank, knowing that the dirt beneath the clown shoes is worth more than the Bellagio's fountains.
Part 2. The RV Park Cash Machine.
If you walk out back, behind the Adventure Dome, past the concrete structures, you find something that shouldn't exist in modern Las Vegas: the RV park. In a city where every square foot is usually engineered by MBAs to extract maximum revenue per second through slot machines or retail space, a parking lot for Winnebagos seems like a massive waste of space. It feels like a relic from a time when Americans drove across the country for a summer road trip, a callback to a simpler era. But let's crunch the numbers, because this might be the most brilliant square footage in the entire city. This park is the only one left on the Strip. It has roughly 400 spaces. Occupancy routinely hovers above 90%, often selling out months in advance during peak seasons. With an average rate of around $60 a night, you are looking at an estimated revenue stream of nearly $8.7 million a year. That number might seem small compared to a casino's gross gaming revenue, but you have to look at the cost to generate that revenue. Corporate strategists would scream that you could build a 50-story condo tower there and make more revenue. And on paper, they are right. But revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. Think about the margins. A luxury tower requires thousands of unionized staff, millions in air conditioning, constant renovations, expensive insurance, and massive utility bills. What does an RV park require? Asphalt, a utility hookup, maybe one security guard and a guy to empty the trash. The net margin here is astronomical compared to a hotel tower. This is the definition of passive income in its purest, rawest form. While the Cosmopolitan has to worry about replacing high thread count sheets and managing complex supply chains, Circus Circus just has to make sure the pavement doesn't crack. It is a cash machine, hidden in plain sight, proving that in the new Vegas economy, boring is profitable. Part 3. The volume strategy. Walk into the Wynn or the Bellagio, and the entire business model is built on whale hunting. They need the guy in the Italian suit to drop $50,000 at the baccarat table to make their quarter numbers. It is a high-stakes, high-stress game where losing one or two key clients can send panic through the boardroom. They fly these people in on private jets, comp them penthouses, and cater to their every whim. It creates a fragile ecosystem dependent on the whims of the ultra-wealthy, where the house variance can actually ruin a fiscal quarter. Circus Circus plays a completely different game. They don't want the whale. They want the plankton. But they want millions of them. Their strategy is built on the stability of the American middle class, or what's left of it. Instead of one guy losing $50,000, they want 1,000 families losing $50. The corporate counterpoint is that this model is low rent and lacks prestige. They argue that a luxury brand cannot survive on $5 blackjack tables, and that you need exclusivity to drive demand. But look at the reality of economic volatility. When a recession hits, and it always does, the whales disappear. They retreat to their safe houses to protect their capital. But the family from Ohio? They still want a vacation. They just can't afford Paris or the Maldives, so they come here. This volume strategy creates a bedrock of financial stability that the luxury resorts envy but cannot replicate. Ruffin has built a business that doesn't care if the stock market crashes, because his customers aren't watching the ticker tape. they're just looking for a cheap weekend. It's a strategy that trades ego for security, ensuring that the lights stay on even when the rest of the strip goes dark. Part 4. The Conservative Leverage Fortress. In the era of cheap money over the last decade, everyone looked like a financial genius. Private equity firms and corporate conglomerates loaded Las Vegas with staggering amounts of debt to fund their shiny glass towers, betting that interest rates would stay near zero forever. Look at Caesars Entertainment. They are carrying a debt load north of $13 billion. That is a mortgage that requires constant, aggressive extraction from the customer just to pay the interest. This is the real reason why resort fees exist. This is why parking costs money. They aren't charging you $25 for parking because they want to. They are charging you because the bankers demand it. They are running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. Phil Ruffin plays by 1980s rules. His structure is remarkably conservative, roughly 60% debt and 40% equity, with leverage ratios hovering around a manageable 3 to 4 times EBITDA. This is the fortress strategy. Why does this matter to you, the consumer? Because debt dictates pricing. When the Federal Reserve raises rates and the variable interest loans start crushing the mega resorts, forcing them to cut staff and raise prices, Ruffin sits comfortably. He doesn't have to gouge you for a $12 bottle of water to stay solvent. He doesn't need to panic if occupancy drops by 5% in a quarter. This financial freedom allows him to maintain the low-price strategy that undercuts the entire strip. While the big boys are hyperventilating about quarterly earnings to service their debt, Ruffin is playing the long game, immune to the panic. He owns the game because he isn't borrowing the pieces. Part 5. Strategic Neglect. Walk down the hallway of the West Tower and you'll see it. The carpet is worn in high-traffic areas. The wallpaper feels dated, sporting patterns that went out of style 20 years ago. The furniture looks like it came from a liquidation sale in 1998. YouTube reviewers and travel vloggers call this neglect. They film the cracks in the wall and laugh, labeling it a dump. But in the boardroom, Ruffin calls this discipline. There is a concept in real estate called over-improvement. If you spend $100 million renovating rooms that you sell for $35,000 a night, you go bankrupt. The math simply doesn't work. The luxury resorts are trapped in an endless arms race of renovations. New carpets, new marble, new tech, every 3 years just to justify their $500 room rates. This costs billions in capital expenditures, CapEx, a constant drain on resources. Ruffin practices strategic neglect, or what I prefer to call calculated stagnation. He understands his customer perfectly. The person booking a $29 room on a Tuesday isn't looking for Egyptian cotton sheets, an espresso machine, or a voice-activated butler. They are looking for a place to pass out after a long day of walking. By keeping operating costs at rock bottom, maintaining a lean staff of around 2,000 employees, and refusing to participate in the luxury arms race, he ensures that almost every dollar that comes in flows straight to the bottom line. It isn't pretty, but it is ruthlessly efficient. He isn't selling an experience, he is selling utility. In a city of overpriced dreams, he is selling the only reality that fits the budget. The ugliness isn't a bug, it's a feature of the business model. Part 6. The Pain-Free Spending Trap. This is perhaps the most subtle and dangerous trick in the Circus Circus playbook, and it relies entirely on human psychology. It is the psychology of the loss leader weaponized. When you walk into the Bellagio and see a $25 cocktail on the menu, your wallet physically tightens up. You become defensive. Your guard is up because you know you are being hunted. You double-check the bill. You skip dessert. Circus Circus disarms you. You walk in and see $2 beers. You see $5 blackjack tables. You see midway games that cost a few bucks. Your brain tells you, this is cheap. I can afford this. I'm getting a deal. The defensive barriers come down. You relax. This is the pain-free spending trap. Because the prices feel trivial, you spend more frequently. You play the carnival game 10 times because it's only $1. You buy 3 beers because it's a steal. You throw loose change into the slot machines without thinking. But here is the catch. The profit margin on that cheap beer and that plush toy is often higher percentage-wise than the margin on a steak dinner. Ruffin is making millions on microtransactions. He is nickel and diming you, but because the nickels are so small, you thank him for it. It is the exact same psychological model used by mobile games, applied to a physical casino. You leave feeling like you saved money, while he knows he extracted maximum value from your savings. He kills you with kindness, $1 at a time. Part 7. Recession-Resilient. Finally, we have to talk about the dark cloud on the horizon, the economy. We are living in an era of inflation, uncertainty, and a shrinking middle class. The cost of living is skyrocketing, and discretionary income is evaporating. In this environment, the $800 a night resorts are vulnerable. They are luxury goods. When money gets tight, the Vegas trip is the first thing cut from the family budget. Circus Circus operates differently. In economics, there is a concept called trading down. As the economy tightens, families don't necessarily stop going on vacation, but they lower their standards. The guy who used to stay at the Mirage now stays at the Luxor. The guy who stayed at the Luxor now comes to Circus Circus. Ruffin has built a recession-resilient machine. In fact, bad news for the economy is often good news for him. He becomes the funnel for the entire price-conscious market. We saw this during the 2008 crash, and we are seeing it again now. While the luxury brands fight over the shrinking top 10% of earners, Ruffin has a monopoly on the bottom 90%. It is a cynical bet against American prosperity, essentially betting that people will get poorer or more desperate for escapism, but historically, it is a winning one. When the bubble bursts, the people at the top fall. The people at the bottom, they are already there. And Circus Circus is waiting for them with open doors, ready to take whatever they have left. So, is Circus Circus a dump? Maybe. But if you look at it through the lens of a balance sheet, it is a masterpiece. It represents a market cycle that has come full circle. We built a city on excess, priced out the people who built it, and now the only thing that works is a return to the basics. Phil Ruffin didn't reinvent the wheel. He just refused to throw it away when everyone else bought hoverboards. He recognized that in a city obsessed with the new, there is immense value in the old. He realized that while his competitors were building monuments to their own egos, sinking billions into fountains and sculptures, he could build a monument to cash flow. The ugly truth is that the market always self-corrects. If the corporations push prices too high, the market will find a release valve. Right now, that valve is a pink tent at the north end of the strip. It stands as a stubborn reminder that you don't need gold plating to make gold. What do you think? Is this smart business, or is it a sign of a dying city? Would you stay at Circus Circus to save money, or is the strategic neglect just too much for you to handle? I want to hear your stories, especially if you've stayed there recently. Did you feel the honesty of the place, or just the grime? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the financial machinery that runs this country, the stories the PR teams try to hide, make sure to like and subscribe.
We are just getting started uncovering the hard truth.